All right, people. It's Thursday at 8. You know what that means. It is Thursday Education Live. Dr. Stephen Green here. I got a special guest. I am so excited about guests. I get excited about all my guests. But I got to be honest, every once in a while I have a guest who I just think is so awesome and is bringing so much value and to the world. And Katie is here tonight. Katie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Steve. I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, listen, I am so happy you can make time in your schedule. No, I got to get back. I'm already off script. Let me play the theme song before I forget. So here's the theme. Oh, that's not the theme song. Here's the theme song. I'm all out of sorts here. So Thursday Night Education Live is all about providing parents, providing our listeners with ways to maximize your educational experience. Some of them are in the classroom, but some aren't. Sometimes we need to deal with our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, our stress levels, all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons I brought Katie in. She's got a huge background in this, and you're going to learn a lot in the next 20 whatever minutes. And if you want to make a comment, wherever you're watching this on the live stream, just type in below. You may have to hit the StreamYard.'s Facebook just to get active, but it's all good. It is all good. Look, we got our first comment.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah, hey, Ron. Ron, hello. So anyway, okay. Let me just talk about a couple things. Number one, there was a big announcement in the education world this week. The ETS, the kind of big elephant in the room in the education world, announced no more essay on the SAT. No more essay. No essay for you. And no more subject tests. Now, the essay doesn't surprise me. And I could go off on this for 20 minutes, but I'm not going to because we got more important fish to fry. The subject tests do a little bit. And I think the reason for the subject tests were APs. The proliferation of people taking APs really made the subject tests a little, kind of took the luster off of them. But the lack of essay on the test, nobody really cared. I mean, let's be honest. The college admissions people didn't care. And that's really the main thing. Why do you take the SATs? Get into college. So if it's not helping you, not helping you. So that's a big thing. In the make the grade world, everything's running beautifully. It is midterm time. Every school has midterms. Some bagged them. That's okay. If you need help with midterms, reach out. I'm scheduling. I'm helping people. Take advantage of the on-demand service. I have a service now in case you don't know. You have a question, submit it, email. We'll answer it asynchronously. 6-syllable word. How about that, Katie? 6-syllable word. It's big. Usually we get over 3. Over 3 here, I get excited. Anyway, and also last thing is I'm launching a course. If you're out there, if you're a parent or you're an entrepreneur and you want to learn how to project what you do live, or you want to make a class, I'm setting up a workshop to help people by popular demand. A couple of my clients asked me to do it. I said, why not? Spread the love. So, Katie K. May, let me tell the world a little bit about you, okay? In addition to her incredible hairstyle, right? What shade of blue is that? Is that royal blue?
It's blue and purple. It's living.
Blue and purple. I love it. Okay. She is the owner and clinical director of Creative Healing. Okay. It's a teen support center. They got 3 locations, soon to be 4, right? 3 locations in the Philadelphia area. For those of you listening outside the area, their team of teen specialists offers individualized and group therapy for teens for self-expression, support, skill building, with a focus on Dialectical Behavior Therapy, DBT. And we might have to explain what that means. Trauma-informed practices and LGBTQ-affirming care. Learn more at creativehealingphilly.com. So officially,
yes.
Welcome, Katie K. May. We got a studio on. There's about 12,000 people in the studio here. They are ecstatic. So let's just as a way of introduction, why don't you just tell people what you basically do? Because it's a lot of ways that you can help teens, but what do you do? What does you do in your world?
So I am a mental health therapist, and I've devoted my whole professional career to working with adolescents and the teen brain as it relates to mental health. And so what I do, my specialty area is working with teens who have self-harm behaviors or suicidal thoughts. So I appreciate working with that high-risk population. And I have a team of therapists who have all devoted their lives to working with adolescent mental health and work in a variety of areas, like you mentioned, like depression, anxiety, trauma, school stress, self-esteem, identity, exploration. So across the board, if your teen is struggling, we have a specialist in that area. And I really think that's important to note, because teenagers are not children and they're not adults. So they really have a unique brain that's still forming, and having some knowledge of that in the process is important, just in terms of how you're treating them, how you're supporting them, and how you're involving the family in the process too.
So here's a question. I'm a parent. I got a teenager.
Me too.
I'm saying, well, yeah, well, right. I mean, I did. Mine are a little bit older. I'm done. I lived through this. But anyway, I got a teenager, and they seem a little off, right? Do I say, well, they're being teenagers. They're moody. It's normal. Well, how would I know, without being an alarmist or going off the edge, that maybe it's time to seek some professional advice, right? And I'm not talking like, super, super heavy duty therapy. We're talking here more support. So what would be a trigger that a parent would be able to use to say, listen, maybe I got to notch this up to somebody who handles this professionally?
It's a really good question. And one of the things we talk to parents a lot about at the beginning is this typical teen behavior, or is this cause for concern? And so part of that is educating yourself on, or being aware of, what is normal teen behavior, like being in your room more and isolating more, being more irritable with parents, getting frustrated with peers, not liking school sometimes. These are all really normal teen things, like being a little more emotional at times, really normal teen experiences. But it's really when it goes into that extreme range on this side of it, that's like, I'm crying every day. I'm making statements like, I don't think anyone likes me. I'm avoiding school for days at a time. I'm avoiding social interactions. So it's a sustained period in the extreme. I would say, like, if there's 2 weeks of your teen crying and expressing that they're hopeless and that they hate themselves, that would be, I think, enough of a prompting event to reach out and just say, like, hey, therapist place, is this something that you think is treatable? I'm always a fan of erring on that side of just like asking, seeing what's up, seeing if it's a match for even meeting criteria for treatment, because I'd rather be safe than be stressed for a long period of time.
And what's the entry point? It's not like they show up and they go into some, laying on a couch and like, tell us about your childhood. I mean, obviously that's not where this is, but what's the first experience like for the teen? Because obviously they're going to be somewhat, I don't know if timidate is the right word, but it's not a comfortable situation to go into something like this, especially if you're out of sorts. But what happens when somebody walks into your center?
So whether it's in person or online, as we are right now, that first session, meeting with teen and parent together for the first little part to just get introductions out of the way, talk about policies. But it's a slow build. I mean, there's a concept in therapy, and I'm sure in life, of building rapport and building trust. And so we're not asking someone to spill their deep, dark secrets in session number one. It's more about assessment. Today is the day we gather information. You get a sense of who I am, ask questions about me, and I'm going to ask some questions about you. And so it's initial assessment and formulation and understanding, is this the right path that we're on here? And if it's not, at the end of that first session, we're saying, this is actually what I'm seeing or what might be helpful. Most of the time we're saying, I'm 100% confident I can help you. This is what we do every day. You're in the right place right now. And that generates hope and a reason to come back and keep working on moving towards that life that they want to live and that they love.
So you're sort of a group, you do therapy, but it's also sort of a place that teams can develop relationships with other teens, right? So what explain that a little bit, because I know a little bit about what you're doing, but other people may not. So how does this work? What's the dynamic?
Yeah, so groups are one of my favorite parts of what we do. And I know there's some people that will never want a group, and that's okay. We have individual services and they have a place as well. But the groups, we have all different kinds. So we have our DBT groups, and I can talk about what that is. We have our teen talk groups, which are really a space for teens to come together, to talk about what they're experiencing, to get support, validation, accountability from their peers. We have an LGBTQ group and social anxiety group. And we have parent groups. We have all different kinds of groups. And the main idea behind them is a few things. So for our DBT groups, they're skills groups. And the idea is that you learn better in a group setting than if this were a one-to-one setting where your thoughts and your ideas and your everyday stressors veer you off the path of really learning and practicing new skills. And so each week we're introducing new skills. They're practicing them together, whether it's in a game-like way or an interactive way. It's really fun and engaging and creative. And then they have homework to go practice that skill out in the world. And so each week builds on the next, where they're coming back and saying, here's what I tried, here's what worked or didn't work. And they're getting coaching and feedback from the group leaders and their peers in that process.
Would somebody come to your center weekly, twice a week, every day? What is there or I'm sure it's individualized to a degree, but what's the typical protocol?
Typical protocol is once a week individual, and then if indicated, once a week group on top of that. And it is very individualized. There's some clients who, come twice a week, once for group, once for individual. There are some clients that are graduating out of individual treatment and they love staying connected to a group throughout the rest of high school because it's such an important support space for them. And there's some variations of that as you start to make progress. It's pulling back to maybe every other week. And then our goal really is to work ourselves out of a job. So at our center, we believe that treatment doesn't have to be a long-term thing. It's really to help you gain the skills to be successful and effective in your life. And so that means helping you be as independent as possible when you're ready to do so. So we're not trying to keep you for 4, 5, 6 years. A typical course of treatment is probably 6 to 9 months, I would say.
Now you're dealing with this on a emotional is probably not the word, but it's not a tutoring center.
Correct.
It's not a a place to worry about how you're doing on the test the next week. What would you say is the desired outcome? Is it just feeling better about themselves? Is it a social comfort? I mean, it's hard to measure because we're both in imperfect sciences, right?
Yeah.
So how does somebody know when they've quote unquote graduated out of your system? Is that for them to, sorry to interrupt you. Is that for them to decide or something like would you discharge them?
I think it's a both and situation. Anytime we're taking in a new client and doing an assessment in those first 4 sessions, we really consider like pre-treatment and assessment and evaluation and case conceptualization. We're developing what we call targets. This is what we want to see increase or decrease so that we know that therapy is working and that things are on track. And so there's different ways we look at that. One is that we do assessment surveys. So we're measuring depression, anxiety, and stress usually every other week. And we can provide graphs and charts for parents to really see like what's happening in that process. We're very big on data-driven treatment. And then the other way we measure that is behaviorally. Are you self-harming less? Are you going out with friends more? Are you procrastinating less? So we're really measuring the targets that they've identified or what get in the way of them living a life that works for them.
So you establish a baseline.
Yes.
And then you measure against the baseline.
You said it better. I didn't need to say all the words.
Well, I got somebody's talking in my ear. I got a producer who can tell you this. I heard a rumor.
Yes.
I heard a rumor somewhere, I don't know where, that you are doing a workshop just for parents as well.
Yes.
Is this true, or was it just a rumor?
This is true. This is
okay. So it wasn't a rumor then; it was a fact. Okay. So what's going on with that? Because listen, I know this in academic help, that if the family and the team is not on the same page, it will not work as well, and it may not work at all.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suppose that if a teen comes into your center and you're doing great work with them, they're feeling good, but then they go home and the parents aren't supporting it, or they're not reinforcing the mechanisms or the behavior or the whatever, it may not work at all, and it may not work as well.
Yeah.
So how do you bring the parents in? Tell us about this parents workshop. What's going on with this?
Yeah, so I've been running this parent workshop monthly, and it's a free workshop for either parents that are in the community or parents who have a teen at our center. And the main idea is this: in order to create the perfect conditions for change for our teens, we need to educate the parents in exactly what you said, what to reinforce, how to respond to big behaviors or big emotions, what not to say, what's the foundation of knowledge that they need to know to make therapy work or to create harmony at home. And so this workshop is 90 minutes and it focuses somewhat on education. And just like with our teen groups, there's a component of practice and role play. You're learning new skills, you're practicing them, you're getting feedback, and you're asking for support in this process. And I've gotten great feedback from parents that it's been really helpful to get that foundational knowledge to create those perfect conditions for their teens at home. And I recognize that 90 minutes is a short amount of time for the length of time that you may have been struggling. And so we have an ongoing parent group that parents can opt into if they want continued support in the process.
So you're kind of getting every angle, which is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Wow. And I also heard a rumor.
Oh gosh.
Before the rumor, let's do a little station break. This is Education Live Thursday. My guest, Katie K. May, Creative Healing Philly, maybe soon to be national. You're going to have to rename Creative Healing USA.
Oh my God.
Or something. I don't know. The way you're growing, it's unbelievable. It's great. We're here every Thursday night at 8. All things education. The goal here is to give value to parents and families to help you maximize your child's education. But we're talking about your emotional mental health. And that goes like this, hand in hand with education sometimes. A happy child, a well-adjusted child, and we all try as parents, but it's going to probably be a better student. So I heard a rumor. I was talking to somebody who talked to somebody else who said, Katie K, she's writing a book.
You're hearing a lot of rumors, Steve.
I'm getting a lot. No, well, yeah, I got my finger on the pulse. When you do a show like this, you got to know what's going on with your guests, right?
Yeah.
So, I can't come up here just making stuff up. So anyway, I got it. I know you got a lot to talk about with a book, right? You probably got 18 million things you could do. Maybe you got 4 books to write. What's this one about?
Yeah, so I am writing a book, and it has been a life goal of mine. I've been a writer since I was a kid. And this book really interweaves my personal story as what I'll call a troubled teen. The reason that I do what I do now is because of where I came from and who I was, and wanting to provide the space and support for teens in a way that I didn't have it growing up. And so I share some of my story, but a bigger piece of it is how parents can respond in different ways to help teens manage those big feelings without them becoming self-destructive behaviors. Because again, that's my passion area of teens with self-harm and suicidality. And really, how can we as parents keep our kids safe, make them feel secure, and not just like random general concepts, but really like, what do you do? How do you dig into this and make things better at home? Because that's the ultimate goal, is how do we all live in harmony in a life that we love and make this work together?
So the book is sort of a journal-ish kind of exercise, I guess. So it's in a way, it's sort of therapeutic, right?
Sure.
So hopefully it'll be out soon. And
oh my God.
do you ever, I mean, listen, we're both in businesses where you can sometimes get attached to your kids. You get in, and when I say kids, I mean your clients, basically, right?
Yeah.
I've had lots of kids over the years. I'm really rooting for them. I want them to succeed. I want them to bring it together. You work with them, and then you gotta let go, right? I can't go take a test for a child. I can't go take an SAT for a child, but the goal is to give them the tools they need, and then hope. Or not maybe hope, but like sort of hope in a positive sense that you've given them the foundation to be able to be independent as they sort of sail the seas of life, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you get the wraparound? Like I got to tell you a story.
Yeah.
I went to the supermarket, which is an adventure in this day and age. My wife was cooking something. We were missing something. Can you go to the supermarket and buy this? Sure, yeah, whatever. So I grabbed my mask. I got my goggles. I got my whatever. I got my disinfectants. I'm standing in line, and with a mask, you don't know who anybody is anymore, right? Like I would recognize you probably, but and there's a person behind me. I'm like, I know this person's familiar. I can't remember who it is. I'm just about to check out. I'm putting the stuff in the bag, and the guy goes, "I think you were my biology tutor in 9th grade."
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, David, whatever his name was. I mean, his name was David. I'm trying to protect confidentiality. Anyway, and we start talking. It turns out, okay, this was so long ago. He graduated high school, graduated college, graduated medical school, just got done a residency to become a cardiac surgeon.
That's amazing.
I know, it was super cool. And he didn't like gushingly say, wow, like I owe all my success in life to what we did. But he did say, I remember you working with you, and you really helped me with biology in ninth grade, and you also helped me with SATs. And that's one of the beautiful things about what we do in education and counseling is you can really have an impact on people, not because you want to be impressionable, but because it's what we do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it wraps around and we get very tied up in these things. And sometimes it works the opposite direction. You put all of it into something and it doesn't play out. But is there anything you'd be willing to share? Maybe a story or a case study where you really feel this was just a super positive thing that happened?
Yeah, so the closest thing to that I can share is getting emails from clients who have graduated out and gone to college and telling me that they've gotten a 4.0 and they have a friend group and they feel close and connected when they're away at college, which is always our goal, to get them to that level of independence. Mm-hmm. And then when I've wrapped up groups that I've seen them from freshman year through high school and they're getting ready to graduate and go out to college, some of the feedback I've heard, and it makes me choke up to talk about it, is things like, I didn't know if I would make it through high school, and being in group is a part of what got me through. Knowing that people were waiting for me every week and that they would care if I didn't show up is something that got me out of bed for the day. Or I felt like I could be myself in group and dress in a way that was a little more adventurous than I might at school, because I knew people would accept me and that they wouldn't judge me. And so I think I can't take full credit for providing all of those things, because a lot of it was the peers within the group. But I think those spaces are so important. The spaces where they know they're not being judged, where they can be authentic and take risks and learn to like themselves better, because they're noticing that other peers are liking them for who they are and not who they're pretending to be.
Do you ever find there's like a I don't know what word, a syndrome in psychology and in education where patients become almost dependent a little bit on their providers? Mm-hmm. Like you set up a safe space, right? I set up a safe space. We have a kid comes here, we work with them. It's a safe space, but it's a bubble, right? We can't protect them from everything in the real world. Mm-hmm. And do you find that kids sort of graduate and then maybe need like a booster? I don't know if that's the way you would say it. Or maybe they come back just once or twice a couple of years later because they want to get reconnection or something like that. Is that happen? Do you allow that to happen in your situation?
Yeah, so I think it's both. I think we
like an alumni kind of, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, we prepare our teens for the world, and we do a lot of exposure therapy where we're not protecting them from bad things happening, but helping them realize that they can handle it if something bad does happen. And that being said, a lot of our teens go off to college and come back on winter break and spring break, and maybe even over the summer and check in or get a booster session. Or I've had clients come back when they're 22 and just say, like, I'm dealing with a difficult life thing right now. Can I just talk through it for a session or two? Because I'm the last relationship they had therapeutically where they talked about those things. And so it's helpful to have that history rather than try and give all that to a new therapist just for a session or two if they need support. And I think that's part of the benefit of therapy, is that it is such a flexible process. We use systems and we use evidence-based care and we have structure, but it's a principle within that we're still people and we're helping people, and that doesn't look the same for everyone.
Let's talk about sort of the elephant in the room of trying to get people together, which is this whole COVID experience, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm got to think it's impacted what you do to some degree, because you can't just throw 20 people in a room and just say, hey, go do your thing, right?
Right.
Have you gone virtual? What have you had to do to adjust? And part B, do you feel it's as effective as you were able to be face to face?
So we are completely virtual right now, and we have been since March. Back to the office date is to be determined at this point. It is working. We continue to get new clients. I've had to hire to meet the demand of teens that are struggling in COVID, and we have more groups than we had in March when we went virtual. So in terms of supply and demand, there is definitely a demand for therapy, and so we've been meeting that virtually. I see some real pros in the process too, like being able to see someone closer face to face when you're not sitting across the room from them. You catch more nuance. You catch a tear that you might not have caught from across the room on the couch, and similarly, in our group settings, all of our groups are online. You could see everyone's face at the same time. And so as a group leader, being able to see everyone rather than have to scan the room and maybe missing something someone over here is doing is really helpful in connecting them in the process. I think for the work that we do, and especially working with teenagers, they're comfortable online. They're on FaceTime, they're Snapchatting. Like it's natural to them. And so it's okay for us too.
So interesting. So interesting. Katie K. May, yes. Creative Healing. How'd you start your business? One day you just said, I'm going to help teens. I mean, was it that simple?
I have a journalism degree. I went to school to be a writer, and then I had a surprise pregnancy, which led me to a path of wanting to do something more meaningful and give back in a way, like I said, that made sense to me based on my history. So I went to graduate school while I had a 1-year-old. I got my master's degree, and I started my career in a partial hospital program. So working with really high-risk teens and a lot of acute behaviors. And it was a great experience to learn a lot quickly about a lot of people that were struggling. And so that's when I really learned that the teen community is what resonated with me, and that I was good at connecting with them. And I think on some level, it just worked and it made sense. So I knew that I was unbossable at some point. I'm not great at following rules. So that's a lesson for parents out there. You have kids that are not great at following rules. They can still be successful later in life.
Here we go.
And so when I went out in my own business, I just really focused on the teen population because it mattered to me. And then things grew from there.
How long has this been? Like,
I started.
Creative Healing is how many years old?
Yeah, 2015, and then as a growing group practice in 2017. So we've been around a short time, but grown a lot in that time.
Okay. Is there anything we haven't talked about you want to talk about? Is there anything I think I got all my notes here, folks. I take notes. I'm a note taker.
I think you covered most of it. We just hired 2 amazing family therapists. Something we haven't had previously. So not only are we doing teen work and parent work, now we have the whole family involved in the process, and just a different way of working with families together. So that's been really exciting for us to add that service in too.
So if somebody wanted to reach out, of course, there's a confidentialities and all that, right? We'll assume that. What would they do? They would email you, call you, go to your website. What would they do?
The best thing to do is go to our website, because it has all the different services and kinds of teams that we help.
Let me put that here. So that's creativehealingphilly.com, right? You
got it. creativehealingphilly.com. Every web page has a form. Fill out a form. It goes right to our office coordinator. You can schedule a call. It's an easy process. You'll talk to someone personally who will match you to the right kind of therapist for what you're experiencing. It's not just like, oh, I want Wednesday at 7, so I'll take Wednesday at 7. We want to make sure that you have a specialist for what you're experiencing. And so our intake office will match you to that specialist and get you on the schedule.
Where do you see this going? I mean, at some point you have 20 centers? I mean, would you start specializing? 10 books? I mean, where's Katie going to be in 5 years or whatever? I mean, you're young. You could be doing this 30 more years.
I love working, and I anticipate doing this 30 plus more years. We have 3 locations now. I know you said almost 4. We'll have 3 locations total, because 2 Philly will collapse into 1.
Oh, okay, there we go. That's still impressive.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, like, I have to think more on the future of creative healing. We have such an expert and specialized team that to grow that really means that I put a lot of effort and intentionality into making sure we have therapists that meet that expectation and that level of competency. So we'll see where things go. But
are you looking to bring more professionals in? I mean, do you want to address that here, or is it?
Yeah, I would love to have some more therapists on our team. What we're really hoping to find is, again, like people who are passionate about working with the teen population. I'd love to have someone who specializes in eating disorders and DBT work and LGBTQ work, all of the things that we do.
Explain DBT? That was in your intro, and I actually know what it is, but I think maybe the audience may not. But
thank you for asking that. So DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. Thanks, Ron. It is Dialectical Behavior Therapy. It really is. It's the balance between acceptance and change. So what it means is finding the balance between extremes in thinking, extremes in behavior, and coming back to the center and finding that balance. So it's rooted in changing your thoughts, but also like Zen practices. And it's really what they call a third wave psychotherapy practice. It's helping people with extremes in thinking and extremes in behavior find balance again, is I think the shortest way I can say it.
Is there something that gives you particular joy? Like, is there a certain type of child or a teen or a certain circumstance that really, really just resonate? Maybe it's a person that's close to what you experienced personally, or you would be willing to share. Is there just one thing that really would be like the, I don't know, ultimate kind of great day for you?
For me personally, my favorite kind of teen to work with is like a creative, artsy teen who maybe feels like they're not good enough or they haven't found their place, like that theater kid or that black sheep who is questioning whether life is worth living and deep inside knows it is, but really hasn't found their place or the confirmation that they need to keep going. And so they're motivated to find that life worth living, and they need some support and skills along the way.
So they're not like the in crowd, or they're not the popular kid, or they're not a jock, or whatever I'm not as plugged into the teen jargon as you may be at this point. I'm still stuck in like 1985. You know what it reminds me of, though? I don't know. Like, my wife is this huge fan of the show The Voice, right? Mm-hmm. Which is like this sort of singing competition. And the kid who won was like 15. He beat all these adults. He's an unbelievable singer, but they all are.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been a great patient, or do you use the word patient? I guess you would.
Client, we say.
Client for you. It was like a kid who basically said, I didn't have a lot of friends. Yeah. I didn't fit in. I was like the kind of artsy kid in a world of jocks and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. Mm-hmm. But, when the majority is doing one thing and you're in the minority, it's easy to feel isolated and unaccepted and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. I say it's like the island of misfit toys. Like all the teens who feel like they don't have their place somewhere else tend to find each other in our groups and feel really connected. And that's amazing to see happen. And then they take those connections outside of group. They start hanging out. They start understanding how to form like trusting relationships too. So
the lack of commonality is the commonality.
You got it.
Oh, I like that. Somebody write that down. Write that down, producers. Katie K. May, I want to thank you profusely for coming on tonight. It's just, it's funny. I've never actually met Kate. We've worked together a few times. We've been kind of shared podcast guesting, and Kate was one of my guests on the back to school workshop in September. And we only live like 3 miles apart, right? Something like that. We're not very far from each other, but in this COVID world, you're lucky if you can get to the supermarket in one piece. But it's just like Ron said, you're contagious. Your enthusiasm is great. I love it. I love positivity. You're helping so many people. And I don't want this to be like a love fest, but what you're doing is really needed work. And, if it's the old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I really get that feeling from you, that you're just happy being with your tribe and surrounding yourself with like-minded people and feeling like you're bringing value and bringing people to a better place from when they show up to when they leave, which is really what we in the education, counseling, support space, what more can we really ask for? I mean, look, we got to make a living, so we got to put a little bit of money on it somewhere, but this is the stuff you can't price tag, right?
I feel grateful for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let me ask you one last question, just totally off, we're completely off script here. I don't think we had a script anyway. I know you've got certain goals and stuff, but is there anything you haven't done yet that you really want to do? Like, do you have a big goal for 2021? I mean, I'm not even talking business, just like, I don't know, you want to like climb Mount Kilimanjaro or something like that. Anything you want to share?
Personal goals outside of traveling, which will happen when it's able to happen. One of the things that I've been doing is like CrossFit training and weight training and just increasing my strength as a human being. And so I don't know if I have an end point for that, but I know my personal goal is to continue working on myself. And that's something that we at my center, everyone that works there has their own personal goals and personal development. And I've done a lot of emotional work. And I think that for me now, it's time to take that holistically to how do I become stronger as a person and physically to match the mental strength that I've achieved in my lifetime. Thanks, Ron.
That's like the quote of the year. I'm loving. I know I said it, but I'm still feeling it. I love it. Thank you, Ron. Yeah. Well, so look, we're always working on ourselves, right? And there's the old saying: you can't help others unless you're working on yourself as well. If you're not in a good place, you can't project that. Education Live Thursday. This is the 15th Education Live Thursday. Can you believe it?
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Next week, I honestly don't remember who's on next week, which is really sort of shameful. So I'm going to look it up right now.
Ron, who's on?
You know who it is? It's Ken Myers. And actually, Ron, you're out there. If you want to come on Education Live Thursday, you are more than welcome. I'd love to have you. Ken Myers next week. Ken has a great, you know Ken a little bit, Katie. Ken has a great system. He does leadership development. And along the way, they do fundraising. And he's gotten great reviews. He's in a lot of schools. He's going to be my guest next week, and maybe we will have Ron Shapiro on sometime. Ron's got a cool business too. I'd like to showcase. This is all about providing ideas, techniques. Sorry, Mike. Ideas, techniques, skills, resources, connections for parents and families to help you maximize your child's education and your child's educational experience. That's why we are here. So that's what we're trying to do every week in between. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in. You can always reach out later, and myself or Katie will get back to you. You got anything you want to plug? I know you got your parents' workshop. When's the next one?
Next parent workshop, I believe it's February 17th. They're once a month on a Sunday. If you go to creativehealingphilly.com, it's the top banner. You can sign up right there on the homepage. The only other thing I would say, if there's people from schools listening, as part of my team, and they're amazing, have been going virtually into schools and doing a free student stress management workshop that's been getting some good reviews. We've done it at 3 schools and would be happy to provide it to more students in middle or high school if you're finding that they're stressed or they need some more skills to manage the challenges this year.
Question for you. Does a parent have to have a teen in your center or one of your centers to come to your parenting workshop?
No, it's open to the community. I strongly believe everyone needs this information. And so it's anyone who wants to and is willing to engage and participate is allowed to show up. As long as you're a parent. It's not a space for professional development, but for parents to interact and have a safe space.
Awesome. All right. I think we've done enough damage for one night. I hope you can come back on again, Kate. I love our conversations, and I really appreciate what you're doing. What does the audience think?
Love it.
Hear that? Studio audience approves. Let me see if I can get one other thing here. I've been trying to get better at my technology, but whoops. Here we go. Let's get calm.
Oh.
You like that? Oh, okay.
Nice.
All right, everybody. Listen, we're going to wrap it up. You tend to get a little. This is hard. This isn't the easiest thing to do because it takes a lot of energy to do this. And what I'm really trying to do with this is showcase the people who are generous with their time to come on and try to share their knowledge. And Katie's probably got 400 other things she could do right now, but I really appreciate the time. And I hope people will reach out, take advantage of what she's doing. It's tremendous. This parenting workshop sounds good. I mean, I'm a parent. I might just pump in, never get too much help, right? And we're back here next week. Ken Myers is going to be really good. Ken's maybe this much less enthusiastic than Katie. He's a little more deadpan, but he's really knowledgeable. Don't tell Ken I said that. I just said it to the whole world. So anyway, that is it. Let's get the theme song to pull it out. Katie, thanks again. Have a great night. Have a great week. Good luck with your new center. Keep me posted, please. And at some point, let's do this again, and we'll roll ahead. So here we go. Whoops. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. See, I got out of my script. Here we go. Need to make the grade theme song. There. Nope. There it is. Bang. See everybody next week. Or in between. Have a great week. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Reach out to Katie if you need anything or to me. And we'll see you next time.